New York City, 2012. Magician David Blaine begins a 72-hour stint standing in the middle of 1,000,000 volts of electrical current, protected by only a suit of armor. But is it a mere trick, an illusion? Or is it evidence that what we call magic actually exists?
We're interested in people like David Blaine because we find those things amazing. It just pushes the boundaries of what human beings are capable of. And I think that we ask ourselves, could we be capable of such a thing?
We will embrace the endurance effects. We will embrace them because we think this might be real. Well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there isn't a trick. Maybe I can evolve into a person able to do this kind of magic. We are quite literally searching for the supernatural in ourselves.
Izu Oshima, 60 miles south of Tokyo. It was here, in the 7th century BC, that a legendary Japanese mystic known as En-no-yoja was banished for his so-called magical powers.
En-no-yoja was the founder of an ascetic teaching. Shigendo means the practice of training and testing. This tradition from the 7th century, done up in the mountains with great physical, arduous exercises and discipline, is said to lead to an access to supernatural powers beyond our understanding.
En-no-yoja's magic differs from our European concepts of magic in many ways. This is something that you bring out of yourself. He would go high into the mountains, less oxygen, isolated, less food. Just one lapse of concentration and you die. And then also meditating in the middle of a waterfall. That's where he finds silence. That's where he finds control.
Even historical records depict En-no-yoja as someone who was endowed with magical capacities and the ability to also summon and control demons and spirits. En-no-yoja was also known for his ability to ride 5-colored clouds. He was also said to be executed a number of times, and every time the executioner's axe landed on the back of his neck, the axe actually shattered to pieces.
Still today, we're making ongoing discoveries about the capabilities and potential of the human brain and body. So it's possible that in the stories and legends of En-no-yoja, we're seeing someone who was able to somehow access knowledge that was already hardwired into our own DNA by extraterrestrials.
Is it possible that ancient magicians, like En-no-yoja, were able to tap into incredible extraterrestrial abilities embedded within the human body? And might this explain similar feats performed by more modern magicians like Harry Houdini and David Blaine?
Magic appears to be a derivation of extraterrestrial technology. It's the accessing of the human potential, using the technology of the human form. Magic derived from extraterrestrial beings seems to be the linkage that they gave us to enable us to become more like them.
Do ancient accounts of magic really suggest evidence of advanced otherworldly knowledge? A knowledge given to early humans as a means of helping them unlock their own, some might say, divine potential.
We are drawn to magic. We need something extraordinary that allows us to transcend everyday life and what we sense as profound limits and frustrations to what we would like to be and like to do. It is both a fantasy release and, to a degree, a bit of a map that we might be able to reach further than we think. That we might be able to do more than humans have done before, that we might be more than this.
Mount Hermon, Lebanon. Straddling the border of Syria, this legendary mountain, as described in the Book of Enoch, is the peak where Shemyaza and the Watchers descended to earth.
In the Book of Enoch, there's a reference to Mount Hermon. We see the angels basically descending to Mount Hermon. So Mount Hermon was both a place of connection with heaven and kind of a sally port between earth and heaven. The Watchers, being angels from heaven, knew the sciences of heaven. Semyaza was basically an expert in enchantment and root cutting. You could think of it as basically witchcraft, the casting of spells, creating magic, and using roots to create potions.
The Book of Enoch lists very specifically the subjects that are taught to humans by the Watchers, by these angels who begin to share their wisdom with them.
The Book of Enoch describes Mount Hermon as the place where Shemyaza taught humans about magic and medicine. Other powerful angels passed on knowledge of metallurgy, weapons, astrology, science, and even warfare.
The Watchers delivered to humanity the forbidden knowledge of God. All the stories in ancient cultures, cross-cultural, had these tales of beings that would deliver the forbidden knowledge of the gods to humans, and they were all condemned for it.
The Watchers, through Shemyaza, give us extraordinary tools which make our lives much, much better on Earth. So is Shemyaza really a bad guy, or did he in fact liberate humans from ignorance? And if Shemyaza actually is the forerunner of Satan, has Satan actually been misrepresented all of these years?
Is it possible that Shemyaza and the other Watchers were extraterrestrial beings that gave humanity the foundations for civilization? Then if so, how did Satan come to be so misunderstood and misinterpreted by history?
If we equal Shemyazi and Satan, what we're confronted with here is a larger framework which basically tells us that Shemyaza, Satan, were here to civilize us. The Watchers were civilizing deities. They basically helped us to develop our skills of civilization. And so what we're confronted with here is basically the conclusion that civilization, the way we know it, is not something divine, but is literally satanic. It was Satan who gave us the tools of civilization.
Was Satan really a civilizing force for early humans, as some ancient astronaut theorists believe? And if so, might further evidence be found by examining other ancient myths and legends?
In ancient Sumeria, you have these very curious stories of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were half god, half man, who came down from the stars. They were instructing the Sumerians in various arts of civilization. They were very strange looking. They had elongated heads. They looked almost like insect-type people, or what they call reptilian features, in a sense, or a viper visage, as the Watchers were called in the Bible.
In global cultures, we find constant references to these giant celestial beings coming to Earth and initiating or instructing humankind. Satan himself is considered to be a seraphim, which means winged serpents or fiery serpents. But yet the word seraphim contains the word ser, meaning serpent, and rephim, meaning giant.
Was the character we know as Satan really an extraterrestrial being? One who broke with his own species in order to live among our distant ancestors? Did he, along with other so-called fallen angels, actually break with God, not out of spite or arrogance, but instead to help mankind? The Kingdom of Congo, 1482. Portuguese explorer Diogo Cao is the first European to sail up the Congo River into the heart of this ancient African nation. Despite the dense rainforest on both sides of the river, Cao spends months exploring this unknown land and meeting its inhabitants. After he reports his discoveries back home, the King of Portugal dispatches waves of missionaries to the region. The goal is to convert tribesmen from their ancient religion of Vodun to Catholicism.
You have to remember, this isn't too long after the Crusades. So Europe had already sort of went right from the Crusades into colonialism. And one of the big projects was not just to get land and money and slaves, although that was it, but also to gain souls, converts for the Catholic Church.
Over the next century, European missionaries have great success turning the Kingdom of Congo into a Catholic land. Their belief that a sky god created the earth and its inhabitants is changed to the Catholic origin story. But the locals hold on to some of their beliefs, including the concept, which is also held by the ancient Egyptians, that people have more than one soul.
We have what's called the big soul and the little soul. And one of them is responsible for what we normally think of as our personality, what makes you, you, what makes me, me. But the other one is more of a basic sort of soul that animates us, that gets the flesh moving.
They speak of us as each having a lesser angel and a greater angel. At the time of death, the lesser angel stays with the body. It doesn't know what to do, but the greater angel leaves the body.
As missionaries convert much of the population to Christianity, traditional Bokors, or witch doctors, are forced to perform some Vodun ceremonies in secret. European missionaries hear astounding stories that these witch doctors use ancient rituals and traditional knowledge to raise the dead, creating automatons that are later dubbed zombies.
The idea of the zombies is that they actually have only one of these two souls. They've passed on, they've died, and they've been resurrected, but only with the soul that animates us. So they're lacking in that personality and in that personal feelings and things.
With zombieism, it is then only the physical body is resurrected in a sense. And the personality, that part of the soul, has completely disappeared.
Could these stories have been true? And if so, might this be proof that both the Egyptians and the tribes of the Congo were correct in their belief that our consciousness is divided into separate parts? But how could witch doctors, who lived hundreds of years ago, with no access to modern technology, have been able to breathe life into the dead, reviving just the part of the soul responsible for animating the flesh? Ancient astronaut theorists point out that African myths suggest voodoo magic originated with the sky gods and their emissaries to Earth, known as orishas or loas.
The topic of the orishas is very interesting to me because they are looked upon as these divine messengers, messengers of knowledge. And the stories are very clear that the orishas arrived from the sky. And what I find interesting is that in many of the old carvings that we can find in wood, for example, they're depicted in sitting in these weird craft that look like craft, and that they all seem to feature these elongated skulls.
Is it possible that these African sky gods were actually extraterrestrials that not only taught the natives the secrets of the soul, but also showed them how to resurrect the dead? And could this be the origin of our modern-day stories of zombies?
perhaps through the centuries, these original teachings of these celestial beings were lost. Sorcerers and magicians in Africa and elsewhere began mimicking or trying to copy what the originals had done and had a limited degree of success. They were able to create zombies, but the source is clear. These teachings originally came from celestial beings.